Greetings, Kindred. I am Voivode Maquette, and welcome back to my World of Darkness. This is episode 5 of the Thicker Than Water recap, where we are going through the story Styx and Bones, which can be found in the back of the Cults of the Blood Gods supplement for Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition. We are very much enjoying this. However, this last week, 2 of our players were unable to come due to real-world engagements. And that is something that my games have always supported. Real-world comes before game. We are here as entertainment, not as a full escape from your life. But with that, we did not have Gwen, who plays Deacon Royce, and we did not have Evelyn, who plays Tinia. Not wanting to skip a game session, what I ended up doing is I took my 3 remaining players, which were Serendipity, Daviga, and David, who respectfully play Dawn Rose, Sam Heron, and Damien Hargrave. And I gave them 1 hour each to do what they needed to do as sort of like in-week actions in between games, or downtime actions. Damien chose to have a conversation with Constancia, revealing his dissatisfaction with being part of the Camarilla and actually just wanting to leave. Wondering if she, as an elder of the Hecata, might be able to help get him adopted into the clan, which is was very interesting to Constancia. However, Damien does not want to leave until the murders are solved, and also does not want to leave until they can pin the murders on Anaroma. Constancia truly does not know what to say about this, and she spent some time discussing with him, but is highly considering whether or not she should have a conversation with his sire at the moment, because she is old-fashioned, and even back in her time, the sire was responsible for the child. She is no anarchist. She does not believe that the children should be free as soon as they're embraced. Now, while that is going on, Sam and Dawn are answering the invitation that Sam received to the Ecstasy Gentlemen's Club. And just to give everybody a little bit of a background on Ecstasy, it is one of the oldest institutions in Portland, Oregon. It is fiction. I made it up. For those of you who do not know, Portland, Oregon has an incredibly high adult entertainment industry. And I have decided to condense that down into primarily one club, which is the Ecstasy Gentlemen's Club, which is formerly the Ecstasy Saloon. This is currently owned by the Seneschal Anton Dracon, who has invited Sam over. First, I just want to state that Rose attempts to get in stealthily through obfuscate use, and that does not work. She, however, just was invited in also. Anton does not care. Anton has already explained to his retainer Mercy that he does not care about Dawn being there or not. He understands that they came there together. Anton has done his homework. He has all the information he can dig up on Sam Heron, and he understands that Sam Heron is not truly this neonate's name. What he does understand is that as far back as he was able to dig up, he found a man named Jonah Wales from Sun City, Florida. But he also believes that might not be truly as far back as these identities go with this individual, this Bruja. And I say Bruja in quotations here, due to the fact that he has been discussing things with the sheriff, Jacob Monroff. Those two, Anton and Jacob, have been allies for a very, very long time. They have been in a coterie themselves since they were neonates in Portland, Oregon, over 100 years ago. Jacob has reported to Anton how easily the body part that was removed off of Sam came off. Little fuss. No damaging results. Just sort of gave up. Almost like a lizard's tail being removed. Anton understands exactly what this is as soon as he hears about it. Jacob understood exactly what this was as soon as he hears about it. And unfortunately, Dracon is about to paint a huge target on the backs of Sam and Dawn, because he is about to reveal one of his personal secrets to this group. After discussing things a little bit with the two neonates, Dracon decided to give himself a little bit more security and ended up conditioning Dawn through the use of his dominate abilities to not be able to say anything to anyone if they ask about Dracon. If they ask about Dracon, all she can say is that she does not know much about him. That is all she can say. This is going to be something that ends up getting caught very soon, but knowing information on a seneschal is going to end up being very dangerous for Dawn herself. She, before the larger secret is revealed, is actually sent away out of the club so that just Dracon and Sam can actually have a little bit of a one-on-one. He discusses with him that the act of being a Brujah is up with him, that he understands that he's not a Brujah. And after a few minutes of discussing with him, he found out that Sam legitimately thinks that he's a Brujah, that he does not know that he's not actually one of the rabble. This poor Kindred, this neonate Kindred, was embraced and assumed. Now, when I first started this game, this iteration of the game, and it was originally myself, Daviga, and Serendipity playing the game just with the three of us, we were doing a round robin style of storytelling together, which I will be happy to go on more detail later. But the thing is, we would rotate storytellers. The very first night was my night. I did the introduction of the game and the characters, and to get the characters caught up, to give them a little bit of exposition, a little bit of information, I introduced them to, in character, the podcast Lore by Night, where we used episode 1, Kindred 101. That gives you a general basics on the world of darkness through the eyes of vampire. It gives you a general basics on the sex and also the clans in character. If you've never listened to Lore by Night, the Lore by Night guy, the guy who actually runs the thing, he does it all as an in-character, as a Nosferatu who's breaking the masquerade through a podcast. And it is amazing. It is such a great series, and I'm definitely going to put that in there in the description. I'll put a thing, specifically episode 1, because it helped the game so much. The original intention was that maybe once a month or so we'll listen to an episode of it in character, but we never really got past listening to that first episode. Instead, we opened it up so that people could listen to the different episodes on their own free time, in their downtime if they wanted to. And I would allow that to be the lore in the game. Where the Lore by Night guy is literally a red-listed Nosferatu who's being hunted down because of his breaks of the masquerade and the fact that the Camarilla has to use all their resources, and the Anarchs are using all their resources to try to cover up this podcast, which pops up on a pirate online station every now and then that they have to scramble to cover. But the characters ended up getting the information to Lore by Night and being able to listen to that first episode, and the characters literally assumed what clans they were. Now, for my character, who was Noah Masters, he guessed right that he was a La Sombra. For a little while there, he thought he was a Ventru. But Sam Heron, or Jonah Wales at the time, assumed that he was Clan Brujah and has just gone with it ever since. And due to the fact that he was embraced in an Anarch city, it was just accepted, the fact that he was most likely Brujah. However, these physical changes that he's going to are showing that he has abilities that he didn't realize before. He has accessed a specialized version of Protean, Vicissitude. Dracon has recognized that Sam very well might be Clan Tzimisce. And that being a thing, Dracon has opened up to him that he is a Ventrue. That Dracon himself, Anton Dracon, the Seneschal of Portland, Oregon, is a Ventrue. But before his embrace, Anton was a Revenant. Now, he explained what the Revenants were, that they are specialized houses of ghouls bred by Clan Tzimisce for various purposes. That there are Revenants that are bred for infiltrating human society. That there are Revenants bred specifically to hunt down werewolves. That there are Revenants specifically bred to hold the lore and the secrets of vampire existence, and so on and so forth. That there are many houses, and that he himself escaped what was expected of him by actually being embraced. However, he, as a former Revenant, does have access to vicissitude and is willing to teach him how exactly to use those powers. Now, he's doing this for selfish reasons. One, on the outside, he wants to make it so that Sam has a better ability to create masks in the future, just in case he has to run, or if he wants to use his abilities to help other people. Also, but the selfish reason is that if Sam is ousted, it could bring other Tzimisce into the city, which is something that Dracon does not want, because he has spent so long trying to hide the fact that he is connected to them in a fashion. He shows off some of his powers on what vicissitude can do, and it actually does inspire Sam to want to learn this gift of being able to change who he is, not just on paper, but physically. That he might be able to do this with his own coterie. That he, Dawn, and Tinia might very well be able to run off away from this place and completely recreate themselves to who they want to be. He also gained another concept, another idea, which Dracon does not 100% back. And that is the idea that he could possibly interweave himself and fake being a Ventrue. The idea of merging into one of the hardest clans to do. He sees it as a personal challenge. So, that is where we leave. That is what we've done. Sam Heron is not truly Sam Heron. In fact, he's not even a Brujah at all. He's a Tzimisce. What are we going to do with that? I guess we'll find out. I cannot wait to get to the next episode of this and actually get back into Styx and Bones and be able to just enjoy, to get back into that story. I want this story to reach its conclusion and find out what kind of profound effects it has on this coterie. I am Voivode Maquette. I understand that this episode was a lot shorter than its previous ones, but given the fact that I only gave them enough time to have conversations with a couple of NPCs, that is how that goes. Next week we will continue on with the storyline and you will get a whole episode. But until then, thank you for joining me. Good evening.